How's it going? I have stuff to show you. How's it going, guys? Corey the Random Guy here. Today I'm going to show you the rearranged setup. Wife was actually gracious enough to put a shelf thing in here. Yeah, I'm missing my hat. I just found it. Hang on. That better? Good. Because I feel naked without this. Before we begin, and I'll show you what I got, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss anything. Without further ado, let's show you the new setup I've got. So you guys remember it from last time. Mower Junkie, I'm still watching your video, but I had to make one too. This speaker here, I actually forgot that I had. This one here, it's got way too much trouble. I can't figure it out, nothing. I think the thing is shot. So I've got this speaker here. I think it sounds pretty good. I got a little bit of skip rolling in, but it's not very much. The biggest thing I want to show you is yesterday I scored some CB radios. And in fact, the guy that I bought this stuff from, I'll turn that down. He said he's got a base, probably, and a couple more radios and a couple more meters, yada yada yada. But first, let me show you. Here is the first one. It is a Maxon handheld with the rubber ducky antenna, and this thing is actually going to come in use. He said he could not get this thing to work. It's like, okay, well, that's not a big deal. I paid $100 for 3 radios, and we'll get to those here in a minute. This one, that guy, and I'll show you the rest of them here in just a minute. He said he couldn't get this to work except for plugged into the side. Like, okay, well, brought it home. I looked right there, and he had an adapter to go from a AAA to a AA size, which I thought was kind of stupid. I don't know why it was in there. And the connections down here in the bottom were kind of corroded too. So I cleaned those off, took that stupid adapter thing out, and the results, look at that. Works fine, transmits fine. And this thing I'm actually going to keep around. I could actually use this to test to see any other radios I get to see if they actually transmit and or receive. This is going to come in handy. This is going to be a test tool. And as you guys see here, there's the shelf that the wife has actually helped get this thing in here and helped me get organized, because you guys remember my shelf up here. It was pretty stacked up. Thank you to the wife for that. First, we have an old classic Cobra 29, 23 channel. It's missing a knob. The meter is stuck and the meter light is burned out. Also, the channel indicator light is also burned out. When I first fired this thing up, I didn't even know if it was actually working, because I'm like, what? There's static, and you know, the pot is a little dirty, so it's gonna make a bunch of noise. You guys know how old radios are. Dust gets in those and, you know, starts making a bunch of scratching noises. All right, so I heard a bunch of that, but I didn't know what was going on because the meter didn't move, the light didn't work, the channel indicator didn't work. I hit the push to talk, the TX light came on, the modulation light started flashing as I was talking, so I fired up that thing to see if it would actually work, and it does. It sends, receives, it carries about a 3.5, 4 watt signal according to this meter. Now, I'm not sure what that meter actually shows, if it's peak power or if it's average power. I'm not sure. However, it is carrying a signal and it is sending a signal out, which is pretty nice. Next, we have the tried and true, the old classic, everybody loves these, the Cobra 29 LTD Classic. Everything works on here. The meter, the light, none of the channel indicator lights are burned out. Both of these lights work, all switches work, knobs work, everything works. It just needs a little bit of cleaning. And funny story about this one, I had it hooked up to the A99 with the meter just to see if it would carry a signal or anything like that. I talked into the mic, I said test 1, 2. Well, next thing I know, I was on channel 19. Next thing I know, a trucker comes back and says 3, 4, 5. And so I signaled back to him. I was like, hey, thank you for the report. I didn't even know if this thing was working. He goes, it's working fine. You sound great. And I'm like, all right. Awesome. These old radios, man, I tell you what, these are just some robust radios. Even though this one's just an AM, I think I'm going to keep this one around just because it's robust. I mean, it almost seems like you can't kill the thing. Same way it goes with this one. I thought it was dead, and it's not. It's just, it wants to play dead. It's like a possum. We're gonna call this one Possum. This one works beautifully. This one is a Cobra 148 GTL sideband radio. This one I am definitely going to keep. However, there is some problems with it. It has the 5-pin connector on the side, and it came with a mic, but the mic is all screwed up, so I tried sacrificing one of my other mics and wiring it up properly, looked up the pin outs and that sort of thing, and it just sounds like utter garbage. I think what I need to do is I need to take this one into that CB shop that I like to go to, have her change it from a 5-pin to a 4-pin, have her go through it just to make sure everything is kosher, replace that meter. You guys can see this, it's not even sitting in there right. The meter is broke, it's stuck. I took it apart to try to maybe get the needle free, and the solder joints were junk. I could solder it back in, but what's the point? The needle is stuck, it will not move. If I tap on it either direction, it'll work, it'll move back and forth, but it won't move on its own. So I'm gonna have her replace the meter and have her get the 5-pin socket to a 4-pin socket. I might have her go through, clean up all the switches and knobs and stuff like that, because, you know, again, same thing with this one, got a bunch of static and crap like that when you're turning knobs. And all 3 of these radios and that one and this little amp here all came with the bundle. I paid $100 for this stuff. In case you guys are wondering, this is a Texas Bullwhip. It's a small little thing. I think it'll put out, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. I'll try. Get zoomed in on the meter here. This is on the 100-watt scale. And as I said, I don't know if this is average power or if it's peak power, but I'm on 38 lower sideband. We'll go ahead and change it for testing purposes. Go to 40. 100-watt scale. Audio. About 70 watts is what this little thing will put out on sideband. Now if we flip it over to AM, and this is turned up all the way, pushes about 35 watts or so. And I did talk to Motor Junkie on it this morning, so I mean it's getting out there. He says it sounds pretty good, so we'll see. But yeah, I have this meter in line with it for now. The SWRs though, man, I tell you what, we'll go here. Some of you are probably gonna freak trying to get it to the set, and I'm doing this with one hand. Just hold the mic in my hand. See, with this amp, it's really touchy. Okay, so channel 40 AM, I've got it set now, and it's sitting about 1.3 or so. According to the meter on the radio itself, it's saying a 2.6, but these meters are just not reliable. And it very well could be pretty close to about a 2.6 or so on the radio itself. I'm not sure, I don't know. The SWRs, according to the meter, for the amp wise, is pretty good. We're on channel 1 now. I'll go ahead and set that. Close enough. And it's right around a 1.3 as well. For the amp wise, it's pretty close. It's about a 1.3 to 1 on there. However, according to the radio itself, it says it's sitting at about a 2.6, which I don't know whether to believe that or not. And to power this thing, you guys wouldn't believe it. A little 60, 70 watt output, you know, something really small, just enough to get me over the noise floor. I have to have this power supply runs this radio. That's it. Does not run that. This big beefy power supply down here actually stresses with it. Believe it or not, this is a 20 amp power supply. That little thing right there will pull about 17 amps or so. And I tested this on my multimeter on the 10 amp side, and it showed about 17 amps. I quit talking really quick because I did not want to blow my my multimeter up. That's pretty good. I mean, this for a little small amp, boy, this thing pulls a lot of power, but I'm actually impressed with it. It seems to be getting me out there. I mean, skip isn't very good still. Seems to be getting out there, and I'm going to keep this meter in between the amp and the antenna for now, just to kind of keep an eye on it and stuff, probably for a few days. But I have this thing set on the 100-watt scale, and it's pushing about 60-70 watts, as you guys have seen. So with all that being said, you know, I'm starting to get a nice little collection going. I'm trying to maybe get a couple people into the hobby. I actually got to thinking about this at work. The biggest thing that I kind of am trying to accomplish here is having some sort of emergency communication between everybody across the nation. So in a SHTF situation, I'm hoping it never happens, but if it does, I'm hoping by then we would have enough people across the nation to where we could all communicate from East Coast to West Coast, from North to South. Keep all the communication alive. We can relay messages from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. I live here in the Midwest, so I would be able to, you know, talk either direction. That's the biggest goal, at least what I think it should be. Now, ham radios, yeah, they put out a lot more power. You can tune them into, you know, different bands, stuff like that. Some of them rely on repeaters. Well, in a SHTF situation, what are you going to do? Especially if the repeaters don't have any sort of backup system. I mean, that's just something to think about. CBs, I personally like CBs. I personally will not be getting a ham radio ever. I won't be, well, not the radio itself, because you can tune them into, you know, different frequencies. But as far as getting a ham license, I will not. I will not. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to deal with the ham radio crap. I really don't. I would rather, if I'm going to get any sort of license whatsoever, I'd rather get a GMRS license. I haven't got one yet. I had the money for it, I just decided not to. I'm gonna stick with CB, probably for years to come. It's just the way it is. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed getting more stuff. You guys coming along with me in the adventure that I have here. Car shows will be starting up soon. We're gonna have more car show footage. I gotta get the old Vic cleaned up and washed up and detailed. Oh man. That thing is a mess. But stay tuned for all the car shows and stuff, guys. We are going to have an amazing summer. You guys stick around with me, okay? This is 309 Central Iowa, saying 73s. See you guys on the next one.